If you shoot on a Sony camera and you are curious as to what the best stabilization settings are for your camera, this is the video for you. Brian here at Random Tech. And I recently have been getting frustrated with Sony's stabilization system because it feels like it behaves differently depending on the situation that I happen to find myself in. And finally, I just decided to put it to the test. And what I did is I shot the fire hydrant, which is just outside my house. And I did it with two different lenses, the 70-200 f4G macro 2, whatever that lens is. I did that at 200 millimeters. And then I also did it with the APS-C lens, a 70-350, I forgot, 4.5 to 6.3, I think. Both of them were on my A7C Mark II. That has a fantastic stabilization system. It's Sony's latest and greatest, so it really does work very well. But again, these are long focal lengths, and I'm finding that when I am out there just running and gunning and hand holding this camera, I just don't know what setting to use. So I shot both lenses in 3 different modes. I shot it with no stabilization on, I shot it with the standard stabilization on, and then I shot it with the active stabilization on. So what I'm going to show you is all 3 of those modes for both of those lenses, and then we're going to compare the different stabilization options after the fact. So let's talk about that for a second. Number 1, I use Davinci Resolve, and this has stabilization correction built into it, so we're going to experiment with that. In addition to that, Catalyst Browse, which is the Sony provided software, they actually have a Catalyst plugin that you can now purchase for a monthly fee of, I think, $10 a month for Davinci Resolve. So I actually spent the $10 just to plug it into Davinci Resolve and use that for this example. And then lastly is another piece of software which is free called Gyroflow. So those are the 3 options of stabilization in post. Couple of other things to note, you can't necessarily rely, if real good stabilization is super important, then it makes way more sense to just invest in a good gimbal and then mount the camera on the gimbal and get really, really smooth footage. This is more for just the hobbyist, the someone who's traveling, just kind of a run and gun situation where you're not going to take the time to set up your camera on a gimbal and get super smooth footage. And the other thing to note is that whenever you are doing stabilization in post, it is advantageous to have a higher shutter speed. So keep that shutter speed high, and it will make your life way better in post when you are trying to stabilize some of these clips. And also that means that you don't need an ND filter, which is great. It's one of those things you got to worry about. All right, let's jump into it. Let me show you some examples, and I will meet you back afterwards. So, what did you think? I mean, when I look at this footage, I am like so surprised. I just assumed that the Sony Catalyst plugin for Davinci Resolve was going to crush the other two options, but that is not what I found. The best option, the majority of the time, is the built-in stabilization within Davinci Resolve. In fact, there are, a couple of examples where it looks with active stabilization turned on and the stabilization just at the stock settings within Davinci Resolve, it looks almost like it's on a tripod. It looks fantastic. What I saw with the Catalyst plugin is that you get some weird warping, and I don't know if you could see that necessarily in the YouTube, but when you have it on the big screen here, you can see that it kind of warbles and does some funky stuff. So there's a little bit of artifacting there, maybe. I'm not entirely sure, but it doesn't look great. And then with the Gyroflow, I think it works okay. It works pretty good. The newest version of Gyroflow, I think it's version 1.60, does a much better job of attaching the correct lens profile to the footage itself. But for whatever reason, it's not really integrated that well with Davinci Resolve. It used to be better where you could just click on open in Gyroflow and it would load that file and create a project file. And then once you do your work in there, then it would do a return trip, no problem, into Davinci Resolve. All in all, what are my recommendations? Save your money. Do not purchase Catalyst Prepare, because you can get as good, if not better, results in Davinci Resolve. I don't know how the other NLEs work. Adobe Premiere, I'm sure that works, with their warp stabilizer. I'm sure that works fairly well, but I have no experience with it, so someone else is going to have to test that. And as far as Gyroflow, again, you can use it, but Davinci Resolve does a better job of it, so there really is no reason to use that third-party application. But I guess if you don't have Davinci Resolve and you want to use something else, then Gyroflow is probably the best option for you. That's all I have. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, make sure that you smash that like button and maybe subscribe to the channel, and we will catch you in the next one. Take care.